Hey, fam. This is the Tripod, and we are identical triplets and your co hosts, Heather, Hope, and Heidi. And as we told you in our introduction, we were raised in a family of 10 children. So, our first season of the Tripod is going to focus on family and family systems. And there's no better place to start than by talking about us and giving you a little bit of context around us. So, ladies, let's get moving. Which of you guys would like to talk about where we grew up?
Well, we know that Hope always has such a good way of talking about the place that we grew up in. So, Hope, why don't you take this one?
Wow, I am just so honored. And, thank you so much for that nice compliment, Heidi. I'm so glad that you like the way that I described the town that we grew up in.
Yeah, you always seem very enthusiastic about talking about it. So,
Yeah, so you know what, then why don't I just give you a little context for where we grew up? So we grew up in a town called Marblehead, Massachusetts. It is a beautiful seaside hamlet.
How far from
Absolutely
Boston is
gorgeous.
it?
Oh, it's about 18 miles north of Boston.
Northeast.
On a good day, you can get there, what, Heather, in like 45 minutes from
Yeah,
Boston
I'd say with no
with
traffic.
no traffic. But
Yeah,
we all know that, it's that the traffic patterns in and out of Boston to Marblehead can be
a little
challenging.
challenging at times.
But when you arrive there, you are arriving to just beautiful, magnificent scenery. It's a beautiful town, a
yeah.
lot of old historic buildings, a beautiful harbor that is illuminated on the 4th of July every year. Just really calls out I guess, the magical quality of it. On the other side is ocean and rocky beaches,
Mhm.
anything that you would expect in a New England seaside community. It's really beautiful. And we happen to grow up in a section of Marblehead called Old Town, which, which
Correct.
which just a few minutes ago, Heather reminded me was one of the first
Parts of the
sections of
town that was
Marblehead.
settled.
It was one of the first parts of the town that was settled.
Yes.
So,
A lot of fishermen
um,
and sea captains.
a
It's
lot of
important to
fishermen
have
and
these
sea
kinds of,
captains.
accurate historical facts. Thank you, Head.
Yes,
Correct. That's
exactly.
right.
And we grew up on a little hill near a graveyard called Old Burial Hill, which is one of the oldest graveyards in the country, if you can believe it.
Yes, think American
Um,
Revolution.
yeah,
Lots of
lots
American
of,
Revolutionary heroes there. Yep.
Yes,
and in
including
fact,
who, guys?
John Glover, General John
General John
Glover, who
Glover.
helped, yep,
Absolutely.
George Washington cross the Delaware during the Revolutionary War. So our house was actually right next to Old Burial Hill. It was a small little brick home. And I say small, it was small for 10 kids. And we'll talk a little bit about that, growing up in a small home, but it was always a cozy, comfortable home, and one that, I think we all loved, and one that our friends loved too. Our friends spent a lot of time there as well. So
And do you
that
guys
is my
remember?
take.
Oh, Hyde. When people used to knock on the door, what did they think that our house was?
Heidi, I'll let
This,
you answer that.
yeah. Often people would mistake our house for the cemetery office.
Right,
And
because it
what
was
were they
right
Because it
inside.
was,
trying?
yeah, it was
What were they
adjacent to
trying to
the,
do? Why were they
they
looking?
actually, yeah, they were wanting to get permits to rub the old gravestones. So it was stone rubbing.
That's right.
Um, but yes, that's what I remember. And so we would have to inform them that no, unfortunately, this is not the cemetery office. We didn't give out our last name, of course, because stranger danger, right? But we had
Absolutely.
to direct them to the appropriate cemetery office, which was probably what, like at Waterside Cemetery. So it was
Yep,
like
definitely.
a mile or so away from where we lived or so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a mile and a
maybe
half.
maybe a little longer. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mile and a half, something like that.
So Marblehead's a beautiful town. I would guess that the both of you think the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, Hope. It was idyllic, right? But like when you're young and you grow up in a town, you don't really have perspective if that's all you know. And so I think it took me moving away from Marblehead or like living in different parts of the country to really understand just how idyllic and how like beautiful that town is. I mean, every time I meet somebody who knows Marblehead, they always say, "You grew up in Marblehead, Massachusetts." And they're like, "Oh my gosh, this place is so beautiful." So, yeah, so I have a great appreciation for it. Just, given that I've not lived there for so long. Loved
I
it. It's
know, I
beautiful.
know. I feel the same way having moved away as well. It's just I always get excited when I'm going back to quote, my hometown.
Yeah.
It's a really beautiful place. And
Yeah.
Heather,
And
you've lived there.
Heath, you
How
got
long
something
have
to say
you
about
lived there,
Marblehead?
Heather?
Well, ladies, I would say, first of all, it's probably true that they say absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? You don't know what you
Yeah.
miss until you miss it. And yes, to your point, I have lived in Marblehead for 56 years. That's how much I love Marblehead. And in fact, I have informed my husband, Matt, that when I die, I would like to be cremated and have my ashes thrown in Little Harbor, which is, as you guys know, the harbor that we grew up swimming in. And it's actually a little bit of history here, a little bit more Marblehead history.
Can't wait.
Marblehead's first harbor.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yes, absolutely.
Heath,
Thank
you
you,
know
Heather.
what? There's a podcast called To Live and Die in LA. You should sort of maybe consider a
To live
book
and
like To Live and Die in Marblehead or something. And Matt can co-author it
maybe.
with you. How's that?
I can
I
co-author
I
it.
I love that
Exactly.
suggestion, Hyde.
Okay,
I
that's
I
good.
love it. Yes,
You
Should we
guys
but
can
start
get some
should
of
we
the
start
Marblehead, the townies to contribute. It would be good.
should we start singing Marblehead Forever? What do you think?
oh my gosh, Marblehead forever. God bless that dear old town.
May
There you
she,
go.
reign in noble majesty or something? Is that how it goes?
Wow.
Marblehead
Uh,
Wow.
forever, God bless
My
that dear old town. May she may and noble ancestry.
I'm
I
so
don't know.
impressed by that
I
right
am
now, Hyde.
so impressed, Heidi. Wow.
Heidi,
Yeah.
despite the fact that I'm a Marblehead quote historian, I don't quite remember Marblehead forever, the entire in its entirety.
Well, don't
So
forget the famous
But
painting.
well, Spirit of
guys,
76 is Spirit of 76, man, you know.
Yeah. Right.
so we grew up in Marblehead, Mass.
Yeah. Our listeners should know that by now.
Yes. And it's a lovely place to visit. So shout out to Marblehead.
And the Chamber of Commerce is not paying us for this.
Yes, exactly. So why don't we shift and talk a little bit about mom and dad before they had kids? Who wants to talk a little bit about our mom and dad?
Well, yeah.
Well,
Before we start
Why don't you
recording
guys
this,
give them a little bit of context?
Yes.
just today, Heather informed us that she stumbled upon something. Heather, do you want to share with our listeners and viewers what that is?
Well, I would love to, Hide. And I'm actually going to share and show our listeners what I found. Ready? Can you read what that says?
A biography.
Yes, it says
Yes.
a biography in lovely blue, a blue
Yep.
background with little white flowers for those of our listeners that aren't viewing anything and just listening.
Which actually, I'm glad that you like the blue because it was old wallpaper, I believe, that mom let me use at the time that I was writing this biography. And so I had remembered in preparation for this podcast today that I had written a biography of mom when we were 13. I was in 8th grade, and it was really cool because I was able to interview her. Really, it was sort of an interview style type of questions, and then I put the biography together. But rereading it gave me some great context in terms of her life. And to be quite honest, I probably wouldn't have remembered a lot of it had I not found the old biography. So
What a treasure.
oh, it's
I
such a
mean-
treasure. And I know you guys have asked, I'm gonna scan it and send it to you because there are a lot of great old photos of both mommy and dad in it.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm so thankful that you're willing to do that because there's some great stuff in there.
There is, and you guys want a quick refresher on mom and dad before they had kids. Sort of a little bit of context around their lives.
Yeah, why don't you give a little
Definitely.
history for mom and dad, Heather?
Sure. So I will say, so our mom's name is Helen. She was born in 1922. That's almost 100 years ago. If our listeners can believe that. Actually, almost. It's over 100 years ago.
over 100
Oh my gosh,
years ago.
104 years ago.
Yeah.
104.
Yes.
We can all add. That's amazing.
Oh my gosh, 104. It's 2026, not 2025. And dad was born in 1923. So this is a long time ago. And, the thing that's really interesting is I think most of our lives, I honestly didn't know that dad was, a year younger than mom. Because you guys remember that mom used to try and hide
She was.
hide her age. Yeah. And it's really funny in the biography and some of the news articles that were published when we were born, because, triplets hike their family size from 7 to 10, it was noted that mom was 40 when actually we all know how old mom was when she had us. Want to remind us, ladies?
Well,
She
because of the
was.
biography you found, right? Hope, do you want to tell the listeners?
She was 46, 2 weeks shy of her 47th birthday.
Yeah.
Or 2 months, 2 months
Sorry,
shy.
2 months. What I say? 2 weeks?
Yes.
Yeah, 2 months.
2 months
2 months.
shy.
Maybe I can't add.
Which yes, you absolutely can. Which is, again, really interesting. But so again, mom was born in 1922. Dad was born in 1923. Mom was raised in East Boston, Massachusetts, and dad was raised in Charlestown, Massachusetts. Both are just, right outside Boston proper. And mom grew up in a family with two brothers, Bill and Ed. And sadly, mom had actually had two other brothers, but they both died before she was actually born. And then dad, funny enough, having raised 10 children, was an only child. But we had discovered from, not my biography, but from some genealogy files that our brother Vincent put together.
Shout out to Ben.
Yep.
Shout out to Vin, that apparently dad's mom had several miscarriages. Do you remember how many, Hyde?
I don't have the document in front of me, but I think it was something like 8, maybe.
Yeah, that's
It was a
crazy because
lot.
if you think about the advances in medical technology today, maybe they could have figured out
No, you know what it
what was
was?
happening.
The
Praise be.
genealogy record says that there were 8 other children born of the marriage
Oh my gosh.
between dad's mom and dad, but they all died at birth.
Wow. I'm not even sure that I knew that.
That's what the document says.
Can you guys believe that the historian that I am, I did not know that? Are you shocked?
None of us did.
Are you shocked?
Yeah.
I am shocked. I'm a
Well,
little
I
shocked.
mean,
LOL.
yes,
to be
yes,
honest,
because you
I am.
actually you do have some good history,
You have some
Marblehead
good facts,
history,
Heather.
Boston
Yeah.
history. Yeah,
Family
we are shocked.
history.
Hope,
know,
Yes.
shocked.
I
Yes,
try.
shocked.
I
Praise be.
try.
Praise be.
Praise be. So shall we go back to mom and dad for a moment?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So they had similar, sort of family backgrounds. Mom went to Catholic schools her whole life. She went to Emmanuel College, graduated from Emmanuel, and then she went to the Boston College School of Social Work for a bit. But believe it or not, mom, had decided that after working for the city of Boston as a social worker, actually, I believe it was in a sanitarium on Long Island in Boston Harbor, believe it or not.
So
Mom
now
did
they
so-
would just call that a psychiatric
Exactly, a
facility.
psychiatric facility, which I clearly no longer exists. She had done that for a little while and decided that social work was actually too depressing, and she opted to leave social work, and she went to work for American Airlines, and that's where, as the three of us were talking, that I'm not sure what mom did for American Airlines. So
Maybe
we'll
one
have
of our
to ask.
siblings can tell us
Yeah,
at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd have to ask our siblings about that. And she did that before she was married. And then dad, of course, went to Catholic schools as well, Boston Latin School, and then Boston College. And funny enough, mom and dad met. Dad was in the Glee Club, if you guys remember, at Boston College. And
Yeah, he had a lovely voice. Absolutely.
he did. And mom loved to play the piano. Little musical
do you
connection
guys
there.
remember dad singing in church?
Yeah,
Oh my
his
gosh.
voice was amazing. I know it's such a bummer that we didn't really get the opportunity to learn from him or mom, even with the piano and stuff like that.
I know.
I know they had a lot of kids to take care of, but still.
I know it's it is so sad, but if we go back to how they met actually at a concert at Emmanuel College. Dad was singing obviously in the choir, and then that was, I believe, their first meeting according to my biography, and the second
biography
meeting
doesn't lie.
the biography does not lie. Their second meeting was at another social gathering, where I suspect they started to really like each other, but funny enough, where was dad going, you guys, at the time he met mom? Or was he supposed to go?
The
He was
seminary, right?
Going into the seminary.
He was going to be a priest because, as the only child of a very Catholic mother, I think it was your duty and obligation back then to become a priest.
Think about
dad
the
lasted,
irony of that, though, right? Think about the irony of that.
and
He was
what's ironic?
on his way to becoming a Catholic priest and ended up with 10 kids.
I know.
That's ironic, yeah. And I
I
wonder
know.
too, like like because he was an only child, even though his parents are seem to have lost children at birth, he probably wanted, I'm sure, like a large family, maybe.
It probably drove part of the decision, yeah?
Mhm.
That or
It's such,
the rhythm method.
yeah, exactly. Not very
Right.
effective, we know, right?
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
not very
Or
effective.
effective if you want a huge family. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, we could talk about those Saturday mornings with locked doors, but we'll save that for another podcast, eh?
A.
A
Hey, hey,
or not.
hey. Well, do you guys remember that?
Yes,
Mhm.
vividly. Mhm.
Yes. Do not disturb on Saturdays. We'll leave it to the audience to interpret.
Yes.
Um, so back
Ooh,
to mom and
a
dad.
little R-rated content on the ooh.
Right, exactly.
Mhm.
So back to mom and dad meeting. So shortly after they met, dad was supposed to go into the seminary. He stayed for 2 weeks and left, but then he was subsequently drafted, apparently, to the Air Force, and he spent 2 years in the Air Force, 1944 to 1946, and his stint ended when World War II ended. Then he came back to Boston, and he and mom were married in 1946. And
Going to
then
the chapel.
going to the chapel, and they're going to get married. And so they got married. And then their first child, our oldest sibling, Deborah,
Mhm.
Deb as we call her, some of us call her Graham, um, she was born in 1948. And then as we all know, as we've told our audience, our parents had 10 children, started in 1948, ended in 1969 with the three of us. And so
And so,
God,
Heather, that
God
was a
bless.
great
21 years
recap.
of, yeah,
Yeah.
pregnancy and
Aren't you
with
guys glad
bearing
that
children.
aren't you guys glad that I reviewed the biography?
I'm so glad
I
you
think
have
it's
that.
really I think it's really important to have that context, right? So mom and dad before kids, they got married in 1946. And then, hi, do you want to talk a little bit about their life with kids?
Yeah, sure. So, like Heather, I guess, just mentioned, um, they had Deb in 1948. And then this is the thing that is just fantastic to try to understand, right?
Yeah.
So, like, they had Deb in 1948, and then in 1950, they had their second child. His name is Henry Vincent Jr., but we call him Vincent. And then 1951, okay, they had Mark.
Yep.
And then a year later, they had Keith. So that's 4 kids in what, 4 years? You guys following me on the math here?
We are.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay. And then they take a break for a while. Seems like they had their hands full with
I'd
4
say.
kids. They had Pam in 1955. Then take a little bit of a break. They have Stephanie in 1960. And then 6 years later, they have Faith. And they probably think, that's pretty great. We've got a lot of children. We've got 7 kids.
7 kids
They
is
were
a lot.
probably all done.
Yep.
They were good.
Had the family, right? Had big family, but no, they weren't done yet because in 1969, roll the, drum roll here. They have the 3 of us, identical triplets, so we complete the family 8, 9, and 10. So pretty nuts, guys, right?
Pretty nuts.
It's nuts. And can I just interject really quickly? Because
Yeah.
I think this is kind of fascinating because we were born in 1969. Ultrasound didn't exist. Modern day pregnancies, you have an ultrasound, and a lot of
Right.
people find out if they're having, a boy or girl or whatever. They didn't exist. And so when I was rereading the biography, I had remembered that mom's doctor at the time only ever got one heartbeat when she was being examined, prior to having us. And so he says that we were in perfect alignment. So mom and dad actually didn't know that they were having triplets. I do suspect that mom probably got a bunch of kicks. Maybe she thought she was having twins. I'm not sure, but I
She
do think it's
must have known
fascinating.
Well, she
something,
must
right?
have, right?
She
Like,
must have known
She
especially
must
something,
have. She must have.
with
right?
her, like just the size, right?
Yeah.
You know, of how big she may probably have been
Yeah.
with like carrying 3 kids.
Yeah. But another funny thing too is that in reading some of the articles in the biography about when we were born, Dad made a comment about, only having one crib and one bassinet at home, that they were really unprepared. So they had to go out and buy, additional cribs and bassinets for us, which again, yeah, I just think it's fascinating. Because oftentimes, how many times have you guys been asked a question if mom um, was actually using help me. I'm
Birth
spacing.
control or
No, birth control. If
Fertility
yeah,
drugs.
yeah. I'm
oh,
sorry.
fertility.
If
Yeah.
mom was taking fertility drugs, and we're like, yeah,
Fertility
no,
drugs, I think they were around at the time, but no, it wasn't, fertility drugs weren't used in 1969 the way
1969
they are today,
today. Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
and a lot of Irish Catholic families had huge families, right? Or Roman
And that
Catholic
was,
and
yeah,
just
I mean, how many families do we know, even just growing up in Marblehead, that
that had
had
big
really
families
big families,
with a
right?
lot
oh,
of kids.
We
we
Yeah.
could
don't see it as
name
much these days, but back
Yeah, it
we
back
was
in the
name
day,
more
it was really the norm, right?
yeah, it was
yeah,
normative for sure. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
And the
So,
crazy thing is too, like we've talked about, I mean, so mom was, let's just say 47 for the sake of it, right?
yeah,
That would, I mean, we'll be 57 in a couple months.
yeah,
And, so I was like, think about 10 years ago for the three of us having had identical triplets,
I
right?
know.
Like just to
It's
kind of put your feet in her shoes and think about what that was like, having already had 7 children, and then she has 3 additional children at 47, and dad was, like, again, for the sake of it, like 46, right? Like, oh my gosh.
yeah. And I'm sure they thought about it. I'm sure they, of course, thought, what a blessing. But at 47 and 46 respectively, they were probably exhausted from having raised 7 kids. I think the good news for mom was that some of our siblings were older, and I think some of our siblings at least, gave her some help,
Yeah, some
because
oh,
support.
I think they gave her a lot of help.
as we talked
Tons.
about, I mean, her work was never done, right? She was either cooking, cleaning, doing laundry, ironing. She worked. She was entirely selfless, and really just, I mean, just took care of all of us. So as I think as well as she could.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I'm excited about this season, you guys. Tell me if you are too, but like, I know we've talked to our siblings about what their experience was like in stories we've heard, but it'll be really neat just to kind of reconnect and kind of find out, how much support and assistance they gave her and just things like that. Kind of, I don't know. I'm just looking forward to hearing what they have to say.
Yeah, to get their perspective on
Mhm.
how they saw the family as they were growing up, as mom was adding kids, some of the older siblings,
Yeah.
how did they feel when another kid came along? And then of course we'll talk about what they thought when the three of us came along, because we were a surprise not just to our siblings, but we were a surprise to mom and dad and the doctors and everyone else. So it should be a great conversation. Looking forward to it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think, the important thing is that, obviously there are 10 of us and all of us have different lived experiences. So
Mhm.
it's going to be really interesting to sort of, uncouple sort of what those experiences are for all of our siblings, and what
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
like for us too, what it was like for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And, look, I mean, we'll get into this in more detail, but our dad passed in 1982. He was 59 years old at the time. And mom passed 9 years after that. She died in 1991, and she was 68. She was very close to her 69th birthday. She
Mhm.
actually died on Mother's Day in 1991. And the three of us were in college at the time. We were a couple of weeks shy of our college graduation. So, we lost our dad when we were in middle school. We lost our mom as we were leaving college. Difficult ages to experience that kind of a loss. And so, what I'm looking forward to most in this season is, really exploring our family, trying to really make sense of our family, our lived experiences,
Mhm.
to talk about family dynamics and sort of where we all fit. And we're also going to talk a little bit about loss and what it was like for us, but also for our siblings to lose our parents when they did. And so it should be a good several good discussions. So all of our upcoming episodes are going to be, what were each of our individual experiences in the family unit, and how did that impact us? So I'm excited.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think next week we're starting with us first, right?
Yeah, I
That's the
think we
plan.
decided, guys, right? Like Heather, I think we're going to talk to you first. We'll go in our
I
Heather
think
was
so.
first, I was 4 minutes later, and Heidi was 4 minutes after me.
Yep.
Again, you guys, it's so funny, in the biography that we discussed too, just the articles I have about us being born and it talking about like our birth order and stuff like that. So birth order is fun, always. Heather, Hope, Heidi, 4 minutes apart.
Yes, and that's how everybody has referred to us, Heather, Hope, Heidi, most of our lives, right?
Yep. And we'll
So
see
we'll
sort of what that projected onto, our personalities.
Exactly. Yep.
Lots of fun, lots
Yep.
of fun stuff to uncover.
Always things to unpack.
Yeah.
So we're going to unpack them.
Take
We,
here's the suitcase.
We sure hope.
we're going to open them up
Open it
and we're going
up.
to take stuff out.
And see what comes flying out.
See what comes flying out. Should
Right.
be fun.
Well, how do you want to tell our listeners what they can sort of do to tune in?
Sure. So, thank you to our listening community for being with us today. We hope that you're going to tune in next week for the next edition of The Tripod. And note that this is a place you can come because this is where the triplets are talking. We'd love for you to follow us on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. We are The Tripod.
Take care.